Hey, you cool cats and kittens. Today we're going to talk about using text evidence to support thinking and revising for sentence variety. To do this, we're going to use the story that we read previously, The All-American Slurp, and a poem titled Saying Yes, and kind of compare between them. So when I read to you Saying Yes, we want to think, how does the narrator feel about her multicultural identity? And then from there, does the narrator in the story, The All-American Slurp, agree with her? So in this case, Saying Yes by Diana Chang. Are you Chinese? Yes. American? Yes. Really Chinese? No, not quite. Really American? Well, actually, you see. But I would rather say yes. Not neither nor, not maybe, but both and not only. The homes I've had, the ways I am. I'd rather say it twice. Yes. So in this poem, you want to think about, how does the narrator feel about her multicultural identity? And it seems like the narrator here says, are you Chinese? Are you American? Yes, yes. Not quite Chinese, not quite American, seems, but yes to both. Not neither nor, but both, right? So that seems to be the idea here. A couple other things about poetry here is that there's a lot of repetition in this one. They say yes, yes, yes several times, and then they also use a feature called alliteration, where you repeat a consonant sound that says not, neither, nor. I have another example of some repetition alliteration in this book, Fox and Socks. Pretty much any page on here kind of works, but I'm gonna go to this one here. This one has repetition, and it has kind of the alliteration right here, and just kind of, this is just a silly book, so it isn't necessarily that the repetition is showing importance, it's just emphasizing kind of, it's a hard book to read. Who sews whose socks? Sue sews Sue's socks. Who sews who sees who sew? Whose new socks, sir? You see Sue sew Sue's new socks, sir. That's not easy, Mr. Fox, sir. So you can hear this, because you have socks, so sir, Sue, and that's repeated over and over again within that page there in terms of the alliteration with the S. But again, let's focus back on the poem and the meaning of it in terms of, how does the narrator feel about her multicultural identity. And the All-American Slurp. Would the narrator in the All-American Slurp agree with the poet? You could argue yes or no on this one. It's up to you in terms of what text evidence you use. So that's kind of where we looked at. We want to use text features to write this response. In the introduction, you would establish your claim. That's where you would say, hey, I think that the author would not agree with the poet. Or I think the girl in the All-American Slurp would not agree with Diana Chang in saying yes. Or you could say the other way, that I think that the girl in the All-American Slurp would agree with Diana Chang in saying yes. That's up to you. That's what you put in your introduction for your claim. Then in our body, we write our text evidence, and that's where you include evidence directly from the text. So you would say, you want to include evidence from both texts. So you might say that when you refer to saying yes, you could say that in saying yes, that she says not neither nor, but maybe both and not only. So Diana Chang wants to be both American and Chinese. She wants to be both. Whereas in All-American Slurp, the girl there's a section where she talks about how she wants to wear the American clothes so she can not get stared at in school. She wants to feel more Americanized and everyone to think of her as American, and wants to be like Megan, wear the American clothes, and is embarrassed of her Chinese dresses. So you could say that says that she doesn't want to be Chinese and she wants to be American. There's actually evidence to argue both claims in the text for All-American Slurp, so you could argue yes or no, just you had to pick different text evidence. So then you would use that text evidence there. I said that in saying yes, she wants to be yes to American and yes to Chinese, so she wants to be both. And in the All-American Slurp, because she wanted to wear the American clothes and was embarrassed when people looked at her Chinese dresses, that she wanted to be just American. So she would not agree with Diana Chang. Conclusion is where you're going to restate the claim and your supports. So in your conclusion, you would say, again, that the narrator does not agree, because the narrator in the All-American Slurp would not agree with Diana Chang because she wanted, she did not want people, she was embarrassed by her Chinese clothing, right? And that would kind of be your literary analysis there. Now, the last part to this, you're going to have an introduction, a body, conclusion. So those are the three main things. And you also want to include some sentence variety. So what is sentence variety? That means you avoid starting all sentences the same. You can do this by making compound sentences. So if I was saying the narrator in saying yes wanted to be Chinese, and then the next sentence I could say the narrator in saying yes also wanted to be American. Well, what I could instead say is the narrator in saying yes wanted to be Chinese and wanted to be American. I can use a compound sentence there. That's one way to do it. You also could use different transitions, or maybe not use the narrator. So instead of saying the narrator, I could say Diana Chang, because she's the author of it. Or instead of saying the narrator in the All-American Slurp, you could say the girl in the All-American Slurp. Use different transitions. So I might say, as you can see, or therefore, as a result. I could say, you know, in the All-American Slurp, the girl wanted to wear American clothes because she was embarrassed by her Chinese clothes. Therefore, you could say that she was not proud of her Chinese heritage. Or instead of saying therefore, you could say, as a result, it seems as though she would disagree about being both American and Chinese from saying yes. So your assignment is to write that response claiming whether or not the narrator in the All-American Slurp would agree with the author the poet from saying yes.